Hello, and welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Today we have a very, very special guest for the show today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Today I got a very special guest for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. Firstly, Kimberly, my name's Adaku Mbagwu, and I'm the founder of the Healed Hero community and based in Tulum, Mexico.
Okay, and can you tell me about your past leading up into your present?
Sure. I was born in Nigeria into a really wealthy family. We were pretty known in the community that we were living in. And at the age of 6, my dad's businesses started having some trouble. So he suggested that we move to London with my mum because she's a British citizen. And we moved to London. So my mum went from being a kept woman to being a single parent with 3 children and pregnant with her 4th. And things kind of went from really great to really bad. We had no
What did you
community.
see? Yeah.
Yeah, so we had no community, no money. Like she was a supply teacher, so when she worked, there was money. When she didn't, there wasn't. So my childhood memories are babies knocking down the door, trying to collect on bills that she hadn't paid, which was really scary. And they would take all of our furniture. We'd go with no food. We'd have to do our homework with outdoor jackets because we had no gas for heating. It was
How
all
did
the
you
things.
get by? Yeah.
It was pretty difficult. I think she kind of, when she didn't have money, she would lean on the kindness of like the local stores and they would give her food and um, and sometimes we would go 2, 3 days without any food. I remember opening the cupboards and seeing no food whatsoever and having hunger pains and not being able to satisfy them. So it just became the norm, unfortunately. So
Something you had to do and not have to do. Yeah.
exactly. It's like there
Yeah.
wasn't any other option.
Yeah. You can continue with your story. So you saw everything that was going on and what happened.
So there was a moment when I was 8 years old and I was walking to the grocery store with my mum and it was raining and she had to stop to pull her sock up because it had fallen through a hole in her shoe. And that moment stood out to me because my heart broke and I was like, we're suffering too much. My mum's suffering. And I made the decision that I had to do something to stop this suffering. So I would ask my sister's friends or my friends' parents if they had any work going. So they would let me braid
At
the
8 years
daughters
old,
at
right?
8 years old. Yeah. So sometimes I was looking after kids that were much older than me. Sometimes I was braiding hair and I'd be given £5, £10. Sometimes I'd be
You
given,
went out at Adaku.
oh, can you hear me? Hmm. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go
I
um
apologize. I don't know what happened.
that's okay. So you start from the part you were braiding people hair and watching people.
Yeah, so I would braid people hair. I would kind of babysit kids that were older than me, and I'd get paid, and I'd use that money to either buy food or put gas and electric on the meter so that we would have some level of comfort. So I kind of wrote my childhood away, and that continued throughout most of my childhood. When I turned 18, I was 16, and I got my national insurance number in the UK. I got my first job when I went
What's the
to
national insurance number?
I guess it's like a social security number. It's what you need to have to be able to be officially employed or legally employed in the UK. So once that came in the post, I started applying for jobs, got a job.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so even when I was at university, I worked 40 hours a week to like, even though I was a full-time student, to send money home. So that just kind of continued all the way through into my 20s. I graduated, got a job, and I guess my work ethic and my need to provide for my family allowed me to kind of get to 6 figures by the age of 21, 22. But I was working all the time. They even nicknamed me the robot in the corporate job that I had. So
I can see that. That's fair.
yeah, yeah. So that was it. It was like I'm gonna be the ticket for everyone out of this. And it wasn't sustainable. So By the time I was 25, I had a whole bunch of circumstances happen at the same time. I was given an ultimatum by my boss at a startup that I was working at as a partner to either keep my opinions to myself or leave. Don't like anyone trying to have control over me, so I left. And I was like, I guess I'm going to start my own business because I'm never going to give anyone that power again. I was engaged to get married, and we had known each other since we were 14. We got together at 18, and then by 25 I knew that what I wanted as a girl is not what I want as a woman. So I made the controversial decision to end up married 4 months before the day. And because I didn't have a job and didn't have a
Were
relationship,
you unhappy?
so I wasn't unhappy, but I could tell that he was. And what we discussed is that he was feeling inferior because I was earning so much more money than him. I didn't care about that, but it was triggering his masculinity. He felt like everyone knew that our lifestyle was because of me and I was paying for our wedding, and that really bothered him. And so, because he was unhappy and I figured out after 2 years of trying to figure out ways to make him happy that I would have to be a different woman in order for him to be happy, then I thought, well, if loving him is what and what's best for him and me, then it doesn't look like we're supposed to be together. So that was what broke us up.
And you broke up, and what else happened?
So after breaking up with him and leaving, so I broke up with him and ended our wedding and then got the ultimatum about 2 months after that. I was like, okay, well, I'm not in a relationship and I don't have a job. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to start my own recruitment business. So let me move in with my mom. But by this time, we were arguing because I was resentful to her for not having a childhood. And I was like judgmental about how she managed her money. And so we just clashed. So
What were the pros and cons of not having a childhood to you?
the pros were that I learned work ethic, that I became extremely wise, that I was very responsible, reliable. I knew how to kind of focus on a task and get it done. My ambition was leading to outcomes that were making me more successful than the peers that I grew up with in the area that I came up from. So I was a high achiever on the outside, but then the cons were that I didn't know how to look after myself. I didn't know how to kind of check in with my mental health and well-being. It was just, I was operating as a sacrificial lamb. It's like every bit of money I would make, I would give it away to help. So I kind of conditioned myself to believe that my worth or my role is about taking care of other people, even if it means at the sacrifice of myself, which wasn't healthy. And it eventually led to me falling into depression after all of those things happen. And
How did you distance yourself from that?
the process of distancing myself from depression didn't happen until I had a failed suicide attempt. So at first I was in a denial because I thought I was strong and ambitious, and I thought that depression was for weak people that were lazy, so it kind of took me off guard. It definitely humbled me. And then I was blaming my family for being in that way because I just kept thinking, I was saying that they were just taking everything from me and leaving me with nothing left to give. And then after I tried to take my
Do
life
you
because
feel like that's healthy? You feel like that's healthy?
to blame my family.
No, like, do you feel it's healthy to like resent your mother, or possibly, blame your family and end up in like a challenge situation where y'all are like playing tug of war?
No, no, it's not healthy because I wasn't happy in it. There was a lot of pain, and I think I was screaming out for help, but it was coming out in anger. And I wanted an
Mhm.
apology, and I wanted acknowledgement, and I wanted to be seen. And as long as I wasn't getting it, I was getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and it wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful. The house was just chaotic. It was loud. It wasn't healthy at all. But I think I needed to break down because in that breakdown, because everyone relied on me, I thought like I had all the answers, but clearly I didn't because I was suppressed. So that allowed me to say, okay, well, clearly I don't have it all figured out. I need to get some help. And after
Maybe
trying to,
money makes you happy. Maybe money makes you happy, but the family part of giving away, having to give so much, even beyond just money, made you unhappy because you're giving and no one's giving back to you, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know whether I think that money makes me happy. It wasn't improving. Like it
It's a
makes things
tool.
easy.
Yes.
It makes things easier, but it doesn't make you happy. Because I think a lot of people, there are a lot like Robin Williams, he was like at the epitome of success and he committed suicide. You know, I think a lot of people get to a level of success where they think that all of their problems will be figured out. And then they realize, oh, I'm still me at this level of success. And if you don't kind of do that inner work to figure out like, what do I need to resolve? How do I need to love myself in order to get that place of internal happiness? Then regardless of what you acquire, it's not going to make a difference. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so the resentment of your mother, you can continue on that.
So the resentment was causing a lot of tension, and I was starting to feel like a little bit hopeless. Like, if this is going to be the rest of my life, I don't want to live anymore. And that's what got me into suicidal ideation. And I thought about lots of different ways. And I eventually tried to take an overdose, but coincidentally, my sister came back from university at 3 a.m. in the morning, came into my room, like tried to wake me up, heard the ruffling of the pill packets underneath my leg, and that's when she realized that like something was wrong, and I felt myself fading, and I almost felt like it was selfish for them to try and interrupt me. I was angry that I was being kind of saved in the sense, which in hindsight sounds crazy now, but yeah, that's kind of that was where the turning point was, because I remember getting home and having this angry conversation with God, like, you're not letting me go, so if I'm supposed to be here, help me figure out what this depression thing is so that I don't ever experience it again, or just let me die. And that's when, like 2 weeks later, I met a coach and I started working with a coach. And that's when things really started to turn around for me.
The suicide, when you were, how did you start to, once you woke up and you saw your family, you must have felt angry because you wanted to commit suicide, because taking medication is a woman's way of expiring, like a traditional woman's way of expiring. And I've tried to do it myself. And I wanted to know, you know, I wanted to say this. In another dimension, you probably did die, but
Mm-hmm.
not this dimension. You
Mm-hmm.
were saved for a reason. Your family needs you here.
Yeah, and I think that there's a higher purpose now that I see the work I'm doing now. I didn't know that I was going to be doing the work that I'm doing now, right? So I'm glad that I made it through. And I think making it through gives me a little bit more of a wider relatability with the work that I do, to be able to meet people who are at that rock bottom, as well as who are thriving and want to excel even more. There's not much that I haven't gone through. That I can't share and bring to helping other people. So,
Tell
yeah.
me about the executives that you met, not just the executives, but the very first executive that you met, and how you felt. Did you pitch your idea or hook the right way?
Oh no, when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. I had imposter syndrome. Yeah, because I came from having a recruitment business. So everyone kept telling me, you know, you should be a coach. And I was like, everyone's becoming a coach. It's like being a used car salesman in this economy. I don't want to be a coach. And I did a talk at an entrepreneurial event, and I shared my story. And a lot of entrepreneurs in the room were asking me, well, how were you able to like get up and run your business when you were depressed? And I was thinking, oh wow, all of these people are hurting. I would have never guessed. So I saw that was the first moment that I was like, maybe I've gone through this for a reason, that these entrepreneurs are struggling in silence. And a lot of people who own businesses are seen as high performing and high functioning. So no, they're the strong one. No one really thinks that they're struggling with mental issues or emotional issues. So that's when I started to become open to using my experience to see if I can help. And then my first true client was her name's Kenya. She was a an ex-VP of a large bank, I think JP Morgan, and she had just finished working at a startup, and she was in between roles. And she shared that she had this pattern of going into companies, working really, really hard, not feeling fulfilled. And she was just exhausted. And when she said she was tired, I knew it wasn't just like, I need to sleep tired. It was just like, I'm just done with everything. It just felt like this core, deep exhaustion and resignation. And yeah, as I started talking to her, I started seeing myself in her in terms of wanting to be seen, but not really kind of speaking for herself and honoring her own greatness. So she started working with me, and within 3 months, I helped her get a job that was a managing director job. So it was more senior than she'd ever had. She was earning 129% more than her previous VP role. So it just kind of exploded things just by looking at what are your patterns, what happened in your childhood, how is that affecting how you're showing up in your job. And she went from where I started, where it was like blaming being a Black woman in corporate America and looking at the dynamics there and having lots of reasons as to why being that role was limiting her in her job. And I was like, well, it could limit you, or we could look at like what you make that mean about yourself and how that makes that you show up in relation to your role or to your colleagues. And as we started addressing that and shifting that, she was able to see success and reduce her stress, and it had a ripple effect with her relationship with her children and her husband, and things started to kind of go in an upward
How
trajectory.
how is blacks and women, not just men. Let's talk about the women in corporate America. Do they get treated fairly? And how many people were at that speaking event that you spoke at?
So the speaking event came before my work with Kenya. The speaking event, there was around 50 people that were at that event. So it wasn't a huge event. It was an intimate kind of workshop that a friend of mine who's a coach was putting on and asked me to be a guest speaker. And then the work I did with Kenya, if you have black skin, brown skin, if you're a black woman, it's undeniable to kind of say that you experience the racism or the discrimination everywhere, not just in corporate. I for sure, even in my own personal experience, when I worked in a corporate recruitment business after I graduated, I overtook the top biller, and he said to me, "I'm surprised you're successful." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you're black and you're a woman." And I was like, "What does that have to do with my job?" So there are always these views and perspectives, but it didn't ever stop me because my priority was my family and providing for them. So I found ways to navigate those barriers and those perceptions. And that was what I was able to bring to working with Black women in corporate America. It's like, yes, those things are going to exist. But if that then has you second guess yourself, or if that has you affects how you interact with your colleagues, then you're the one who's getting in the way of your success. So it's how can you become Teflon in relation to the discrimination and the treatment that you have, is to me is more empowering, because we can only control ourselves. We have no way of trying to change other people's views or trying to change how they show up. So it's better put that energy
So
in you.
what can we do based on your views? What can we do to change, our views so it won't be as impacting to us when we experience it?
So this is a difficult general question to answer because each person's belief is going to be unique, and I tend to deal with each person's belief. But fundamentally, all of us, if we're having a human experience, have some sort of experience of not feeling good enough, not feeling enough. And when we see evidence with how we're being treated, it almost confirms the fact, like, see, I'm not good enough, and see, I'm not going to get those opportunities. So what we need to do is try to shift what we're putting into our mindset and shift the evidence that we're doing. So some of the exercises that I do is look at, instead of focusing on the things that you're not good at or the things you're not doing well. Like, I often hear Black women say, "Oh, we have to work harder than everyone else." I don't think you have to work harder than everyone else. If you look at it, maybe your white counterparts, and especially the white male counterparts, are just better at being loud about what they are good at, or just going for the roles even if they're not qualified for it. And we overthink and we overwork and we work in the background and we're invisible and we're hoping that someone would notice and be seen. Whereas if you're a lot more intentional, you put yourself in the right places, you speak out for yourself, then people start to see you because you are making yourself available, because you're acknowledging yourself first rather than waiting for the acknowledgement from the outside in.
Well said. Well said, Adaku. And do you think that probably like there is like we have been in a kind of way cheated because of the fact that some of us lands in poverty more quickly than any other counterparts, and I don't want to say have to work hard, because you just said that that's what they say. But they sit up there and try to impress people, I think, a little bit more than the norm. What is the stigma behind that?
So this one's interesting because there's definitely like discrimination in systems. I'm not from the States, so I can't speak to that. I have a lot of friends in the States, a lot of clients in the States who can speak to that. I experienced that even when we first moved to the UK. We moved to a Jewish area called Golders Green. And when we went to the council to get housed, they moved us to Tottenham, which is in a completely different part of London. It's a poor area. It's underprivileged. And really, they're supposed to house you in the area that you go to. So the fact that we got moved and we got housed in that area just shows that there's this shifting that is happening, and all of the Indians end up in one place, all of the Black people end up in one place, and then it shows up in school. Because one of my sisters came back and she said a teacher told her that he doesn't know why she's wasting her time on an education, because she's going to end up in McDonald's. So imagine, as a young woman, listening to a teacher who is an authority figure telling her, like, give up on life. Like, I'm sure there are some people in that area that have stayed there because they've just given up on hope and they don't think that they can make it out. And I think that's the difference between mindset. So it's there. And what's the question that I'm trying to, what's the question that you asked me? Oh, getting a foot back. Yes. So you don't have, as a result of systematic racism or discrimination, you don't get access to the same schools. When I did my internship, I found out that I needed to go to red brick universities, which are the top universities, to get access to an investment program. I didn't even know red brick universities existed because it wasn't part of my education or exposure. So
what is that? What is it?
So it's like going to, I'm trying to think of Duke, or like I'm thinking of the US equivalent, like a prestigious university. So Oxford, Cambridge. I didn't know. I thought a university was a university. I didn't realize that, like, even if you got
there's
top
classes.
Degree, exactly.
Yes.
So because of if I grew up somewhere else, that would have been the conversation, and everyone would have been striving to get into those universities. And I definitely would have got in because my work ethic and my discipline would have got me there. But I just didn't even know that it was a thing until it was too late. You know, I'd already graduated, already had my degree, and I wasn't about to go back to university to like fit in. So there is a reality of being a step back. But it never held me back, because my performance and my ability to advocate for myself outshone. So yes, you do come from a step back. You go into a place, especially when I was in corporate, I automatically thought, I have nothing in common with these people. They're probably riding horses and eating crumpets and drinking tea, and that's not my reality. So how can I have anything in common with them? But once I dropped that and started to get to know them, as humans, we have the same fears, we have the same dreams, we have the same desires for our families and for ourselves. There are so much more commonalities than there are separateness. So I strive to find the connection points. And once I do, it kind of releases this illusion of separateness, which then makes me feel comfortable to kind of just be myself and be authentic. You know, I remember one of my clients who's a Black woman was surprised that when she was working with me, I had braids. She only wore weave because she couldn't imagine going to a corporate job with braids. And one of the things she had to do was put her braids on and go do her job. And now I've got dreads, so I'd probably give her a heart attack knowing that I've dreaded up my hair. So I think it's just working from the inside out and seeing, where are you selling yourself out? Where are you overcompensating? Where are you? Because every time you try to become who you think you need to be, you're telling yourself you're not good enough as who you are. So it's kind of, you're putting on a show, and it's fake confidence, because really your mind knows, I know that these people aren't going to accept me, therefore I'm shifting myself, and that doesn't make you a confident person, So and people feel that. We communicate on more than just words. It's body language, it's energy. And that's why I'm like, you can try and do all of the business courses, all of the skills training. If you don't work on yourself, you're not really going to be able to utilize the results from those sorts of courses. So I advocate for going in first and resolving those things and building your confidence and self-love from the inside out, because it will shine and people will be drawn to it, and you'll get opportunities because it's who you are.
Usually my show talks about the past and present, but I wanted to know, where do you see yourself going in the future?
I want to have the biggest community of firstborn daughter executives and entrepreneurs in the world. I just feel that these women have sacrificed themselves and given to others, and I want to create a space where they can pour into themselves, because as a byproduct, all they're going to do is give more to others because they have more capacity to give, because that's just who they are. But they need to learn how to fill up their cup. So yeah, I see it growing to 100,000 in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm definitely aiming for that number and beyond. So yeah, that's what I'm committing to.
Is there anything else you would like to talk and promote for like a minute? You have a minute before we close.
Sure. Like I do for firstborn daughters out there who want to learn more about what I do, they can go to my website, which is www.healedhero.com. And if they go to events, I hold a free masterclass where I break down some of the firstborn daughter patterns, how it limits you from being successful, how it shows up, and what to do about it. So yeah, that's the only thing. If you want to attend those, you can, and send me an email or get in touch. All of my contacts are on the website.
It's an honor to see that Black women like you are doing great things. And to sit up there and cross over with corporate world says a lot. You are a strong woman, and I'm glad that you're crossing over, and that's exactly what I want. I don't think that the white or Hispanic race are bad people. I just think that certain people plays roles in different mindsets of other people by dropping rhinestones or dirt in their brain to make them think that everyone is the same in that type of class, and it's not like that. So how can the people reach you?
Through my website, healedhero.com. Everything is there. The application form for the community, the free events. If you want to learn more, that's the best place. I am on social media, and I need to learn how to be on social media. So if you want to follow me, I do want to start posting, getting better about posting. But I'm on Instagram, Adaku Mbagwu, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the things.
Stay on the line. Thank you, everyone, for joining my show today. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Stay on the line.
Never waste my time.